Greetings. I'm Mary Pat Corbett with the U.S. Soybean Export Council, and my responsibility as a marketing director for human nutrition is to help my colleagues establish overseas markets for soy as a food ingredient. The export demand for U.S. non-GMO soybeans is growing, and as you see in the global importance of soybeans as a food ingredient slide, it has become an evolving role within the last 50 years. Soybeans have emerged as a crop of global importance in the human diet, and while wheat and rice are major staple food ingredients in over 90% of the countries in the world and will remain so, a recent National Academy of Sciences study found that over 3/4 of the countries on the earth, soybeans now play a significant role in meeting their population's food needs, more so than even local staple foods such as cassava. And in the next slide, we see what the U.S.'s non-GMO soybean export growth has been like on just containers, not bulk vessel shipments of non-GMO soybeans. As evidence of this growing global dependence upon soy as a food ingredient, here's a look at the growth of what our containerized non-GMO soybean exports have been like over about the last 3 years or so. And in the 2015, on the far right, you'll notice that there has been an explosion of non-GMO containerized sales. It's representing 17 states' worth of shipping into over 20 countries. Those countries' destinations reach everywhere from South Africa up through Southeast Asia to Myanmar, through China, and into the EU. So on the next slide, we get some of the reasons, the rationale for the export demand that's building. 95% of the world's population actually lives outside of our country. And it's a huge percentage of the population that eats soybeans multiple times every day. And the fact is that we have other emerging markets that are looking at soybeans that are going to become critically needed as a human food protein source. In most cases, because of population growth and urbanization growth, that is, folks moving from the countryside into the cities, these growth patterns and these trends are going to continue to increase, and most of those are actually located in Asia. Some will be in Africa. That's further down the road, though. And in Asia, the traditional soy foods and beverages are really seeing a gigantic surge in demand. And, quite frankly, outstripping the ability of a lot of the countries in Asia to produce enough of their own domestic soybeans. And quite frankly, most of those countries grow their own soybeans, and all of them are non-GMO soybeans. So when it comes to importations, to augment their domestic consumption needs, those countries will be importing what they're used to growing and eating, and those are non-GMO soybeans. China has got a gigantic consumption situation. They are at the tipping point of not being able to meet their domestic consumption with their domestic production of non-GMO soybeans. Last year, they consumed over 400 million bushels of non-GMO soybeans. To put that in perspective for you, that was 200% of North Dakota's total 2014 soybean production. So China is reaching its tipping point where they have also been experimenting over the last 2 years with bringing in IP containerized soybeans. We feel that within the next 2 to 3 years, we will see containerized shipments of non-GMO soybeans from the U.S. on a regular basis going into China. Beyond China, as you can see on the next slide, we have determined and projected that Asia will be the new expanding marketplace for us. Significant increases in the demand for non-GMO soybeans are going to be in the very near term. That is primarily due to a gigantic uptake in Asia's soy food as well as beverage industry's need for non-GMO soybeans as a food ingredient. Traditional foods such as tofu and an explosive global expansion in soy milk consumption, which is not the case in the United States. Soy milk consumption has actually gone down significantly. You will see in this slide that we have had a significant increase in the number of non-GMO production over the course of the last 5 years. And during those 5 years, Even though it's only represented 6 to 7% of our total soybean production, those years have been record bin-busting production years for us. We have increased non-GMO soybean production in this country by over 20%. That equates to about 1.25 million metric ton or 46 million additional bushels. This growth, again, has been primarily in response to extremely strong export demand and in the offering of better premiums being paid to soybean farmers to grow those specialty beans. We've also seen a significant growth in exports of commodity beans for use as food ingredients as well. And where is most of that production going to be coming from state-wise? As you see on the next slide, it's going to be coming from primarily the northern tier states, with North Dakota topping the list at 10.2%. And as we wrap things up, we also need to understand what our export advantages are if you're an importer looking at the U.S. as a source of non-GMO soybeans. We are the world's largest exporter of non-GMO food-grade soybeans. We are absolutely the most reliable supplier year over year for tonnage because of the depth and breadth of our production region. We're also offering the largest variety of food-grade soybeans, which is a complete advantage over any other country because we can customize growing a variety for a specific customer that has a need for his or her own soy milk production, tofu, right down to exactly what type of composition they want in their soybean to make their food product. We're also the most dependable container logistics country on the face of the planet. That's a significant advantage for us compared to any other country. So what it comes down to is, in the near term, what do our customers want to see from us? They want more U.S. farmers raising non-GMO IP soybeans so that we can grow as they grow.